Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Niab talks about his favorite ReZero villain in what feels like an almost weird obsession he has with that villain, but he doesn't. It's just he really likes that villain and wants to talk about things because we don't know much about the villain. About stuff. There's the whole ass title. But I've been doing some reading recently, as most of you probably know, because we've got to prepare for the next review. We're making okay progress. I've been busy lately, so I haven't had an insane amount of time to read. But I've been making some okay progress, right? Shouldn't be too long. Honestly, I said it might go into June with the next review, but I don't even know if that's the case. I think it will be May. I think I can absolutely get it done by May. I even kind of doubt that it'll be late May. It might be, but I kind of doubt that. But anyways, you know, I've been doing some reading recently, and I wanted to make this video for like two different things, right? I was going to make this video at some point anyways because I mentioned it in the Arc 5 notes and I kind of wanted to discuss more all this shit, right? Wanted to express how I felt and everything in my thoughts, just like with this type of thing, right? But also, this video was meant to be a follow-up to the review and I was going to do that, but here's the thing. There's two things to this actually as well now that I think about it. Number one, I feel like I could get this out at any time and I really wanted to get this out like just now because it was like, oh man, there's so many things I'm thinking about now, right? And I could possibly do a follow-up to this if I think of more examples, but I don't think I will. But the second thing was I have two follow-up videos coming out with the review, or at least that was the case, right? This was going to be one of them. And then there was going to be another one that I was going to do that I just wanted to like explore some thoughts that I had on, right? And I realized it's a bit of a pain when I have to do those two follow-ups and then there's, you know, the review, which is a big thing that's just going to be in there, which albeit, yeah, that happens first. But between the review and then the next get into, which is very important, really hope all of you check that out. I'll go more into it with the review, of course, because that's going to be the next big thing on the channel, right? But between the review and the next get into, it was a little bit hard to decide, like, how exactly am I going to fit all this in there, right? How am I going to fit all those, like, follow-up videos in there, everything, right? Because it's like, I also want to put stream highlights in and everything, whatever it may be, and it's a little bit difficult to do all that within the amount of time, you know, between those two and everything, right? And I don't really want to do it after the fact, especially for certain things, because there's another thing I'll get to with the review. A lot of stuff I'm saving for the review because I want to ask questions there, and I don't really want to do it with this standalone video that everybody like, might not see, right? I feel like more people will see the review than they see this, but I could be wrong, right? But essentially how I felt is like, okay, there's two follow-up videos. It's totally cool if I do one right now, especially because none of these fonts are necessarily being added onto, I'd assume, like with the next few things that I have to read, right, with Arc 7, with the next few, like, DX novels I'm going through, right. So I think, for now, I can just do this without a problem, and then, for the review, we'll have the next follow-up video there. That'll be simple, alright. But with that out of the way, right, in the Arc 5 notes, if you all remember, if you haven't seen the notes, here's the video, and the notes will be in the description of that, and if you haven't seen the video, watch it, of course. Hopefully you enjoy it. But in the notes of that, I mentioned the fact that, oh, here's a bunch of, like, characters who I think, but you know, would fight, like, Capella and all that. I did actually also mention one with a previous review, we'll get to that of course, right, in a very short section, but I was like, oh, here's all the characters who I think would fight Capella, and I kind of want to go into that more, because I thought of two more examples. One of them was insanely good, but I also want to discuss two of the examples I had on there, because I don't think they're as good anymore, right? I wasn't fully thinking about it from a narrative perspective. I mean, I was, but more so, I wasn't thinking about it properly from a narrative perspective of how these two clash together really well. Like, what I mean by this, right? Because I discussed this a whole lot, right? I know this series, of course, isn't exactly centered around fights. There are fights in there, and they're good and everything, right? They're great. But I know it isn't necessarily focused around that. But something that is very clearly in the series, and something I want to discuss, is the whole like narrative that leads a fight to happen, right? How a fight works, the connection between the characters. Honestly, if I had to suggest an easy way to just like get through all this, right, get through my thoughts and everything, because I don't want to make this too long where I'm just discussing how like fights work and everything, I would recommend this video right here by Super Eye Patch Wolf. I'll link it right here with the card. That dude's videos I absolutely love. He is, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, he is a genuine inspiration for a lot of the content I make on here. He's the whole reason that the last video I made, the Spy Family one, a whole last year ago I was going to get into it. He's the whole reason because of that, because I watched his Shonen Jump videos and saw that and went, that sounds interesting. So, highly recommend his content. Don't expect any ReZero content from him though, in case you're looking at it and enjoying this stuff. Don't expect that, or like ask him about that, because he very clearly didn't enjoy the series. He tried it and didn't enjoy it. It's whatever, right? Everybody's gonna have their own opinions. I'm not gonna look at him bad because he didn't like that, right? But, he doesn't necessarily enjoy that. However, he did make a fantastic video on how fights should work and everything, right? Like how they can be constructed really well and everything, and I really recommend that video. It's great, right? And I'm now viewing this as something that it's like, how would a fight against Capella be constructed well? Because the very clear thing with the what ifs, right? The random thing I'm going to mention here, but it makes sense. Give me a moment, right? When I was reading the Pride if, it mentioned that all of the archbishops were dead. That includes Capella. So what that proves to us is she can be killed, right? This isn't necessarily something like, oh, they simply just capture her or some shit, right? There is a way to kill her. We don't know what it is, but there is, right? At least that's the very clear implication that I felt with it when reading through, right? So that's interesting. I'm interested to know more about that. And now I overall want to just discuss all the characters who would work really well to essentially be the person who fights her and kills her, right? Also, fair warning here, right? I mean, I did discuss some stuff, and I'm literally talking about Capella, who isn't even in the anime. But I do want to warn people right now, in case you're watching this video while you're at Arc 5, whatever it may be, wherever you're at, do not continue, if you care about spoilers, do not continue watching if you have not finished Arc 6 or you are not on Arc 7. I'm not going to go into too many big spoilers or anything, but there is shit I'm going to say, and it is going to be a problem, right? So do not at all continue watching this if you aren't at those points. It's actually bad, because there's a few things I'm going to mention in some of the sections that it's I really don't think you should at all be spoiled on and everything. So click off this, go watch maybe one of my other videos, maybe go somewhere else and watch the Eye Patch Wolf video, maybe watch that just for fun, right? Do something else other than this, because I'm going to go into some spoiler shit, and I really don't want all of you to get spoiled on all this, right? But with that said, let me just discuss the characters, some of them who I now feel wouldn't necessarily fit super well, and the essentially 3 of them that I do think actually would work well. So let's get into it. Alright, so to discuss the characters who I don't think would fit super well, just because. Number 1, originally I put Priscilla on there, and I do think to a certain degree this could be good, right? Because both of their personalities are very similar, where they want the world to revolve all around them, right? So it'd be an interesting clash to have those two against each other. Problem with this, that I don't think I've really fully thought about, there's not much else here, right? At least right now, out of what I've seen in Priscilla. there's not a whole lot of love related to her, I'm gonna say, right? There's not a whole lot there, so that necessarily doesn't feel, you know, super strong, because I feel like there has to be a connection with that to fight Capella, especially with the fact that Capella is lost, right, and her very big view of like love and everything, right? I feel like there needs to be something there. So that's one thing, but also another thing that I didn't also think about, right? I wrote that note down before I got to the actual fights of Arc 5, the big ones, right? And I didn't really think about the fact that, oh yeah, she's gonna fight Sirius, and she beats Sirius, doesn't kill her of course, but like she captures her and everything, and it's just like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot that she did get her fight, right? So that's something I feel, right? I don't feel like she's gonna take two Archbishops. It'd be a little bit weird if just out of nowhere she gets two of them. So I don't think that's gonna happen. So I think she's off the table completely. My phone just went off. But related to Priscilla a little bit, even though I haven't even started Arc 7, I know about this. Related to Priscilla, let's talk about my favorite character, because I know I also put them on the list. Now this, I think, would possibly be the opposite problem, right? This is a character who would actually have something love related and could clash well, but other than that, there's not much, right? There's not a whole lot that would connect these two at all, right? At least from what we have at the current moment. And it also doesn't help that her memories are kind of bad. So it's like, albeit she could get them back, right? And keep this in mind. Keep the idea of get her memories back in mind, right? Because I'm going to bring that up. But I feel like that's a little bit of a weird matchup, right? I feel like it could work well, but there's not much there from a narrative perspective that works super well. However, let's now go into the few that I do think could work well. So, bottom of it all, right? Here's what I'm going to say, because we don't actually know an insane amount about either character, right? We don't know a whole lot about Capella, and we don't know a whole lot about the other character. That other one is Felt. That might seem like almost a weird type of character to throw in there, like the fact that I put Felt in there. But let me go into a few things. One, there isn't necessarily, and this might be weird to say, but there isn't necessarily one of the Archbishops that like Felt has fought yet. I mean, I guess Reinhardt fought Regulus, and I guess you could count that, but I don't know if we really want to count that as like Felt or anything. In fact, where the fuck was Felt in Arc 5 now that I'm thinking about it? Like, she shows up at the start. We hear about her, I think, in like the middle, right? She's not there, but I think we hear about her in the middle, right? And she's like in one of the camps or something. And then we don't see her until the end, I don't think. So she really didn't do much there. But the very clear thing here that, you know, is interesting is not only do we not know a whole lot about these two characters, but the very clear thing is they both might be part of the same bloodline, right? Because it's very clearly like, you know, red eyes, blonde hair, all of the like Lagunica type of people, right? That type of thing. So that could be interesting to see how these two would react with each other, right? How they would clash. Also, Felt have a very just like stubborn personality, and that would work well against Capella, I feel, because there would be some good banter there, right? But I think that could work out decently. There's not an insane amount there, but I do think that could be interesting to see, right? Especially because we don't know a whole lot, and there's a lot that's just mysterious about this family that, you know, we don't know much, and I also keep that part in mind because I'm going to bring that up. But number 2, so this one might shock some of you, because I originally put them at number 1. Yeah, if it isn't obvious, I'm talking about Melee here. If you haven't already, go watch the Arc 6 video. I made an entire section about her there, just because I talked about how good her character is and how much it would be fitting for her to get a fight here. I don't think I have to restate this much, right? You all probably know what I've like said already. Should be great as a second, possible option for this type of fight. Should be really great. There's a whole lot that works there. But now, you might be wondering something, alright? Because I put her at number 2 now, and I had her at number 1, right? She was the absolute number 1 character I wanted to see fight Capella. So you might be sitting there thinking, wait, why is she number 2? And just to tease you a little bit, right? We're not gonna get to the name just yet. I want to tease all of you a little bit and see if you can figure it out before I actually get to it. But I've been reading a little bit, as you know. I finished, a volume, and there's something I really liked thinking about as a fight, right? Because there was somebody who didn't get to fight much, who could fight in Arc 5, and, well, a few things. One, they did attempt to fight at one point, and number 2, Capella is the whole reason that they didn't get to. So, if it isn't obvious already, I'm talking about a character who, if my theory is correct, right? If this theory is not at all correct, there's nothing about this that's similar or anything, then I'm putting Melee back up at number 1, right? Because I think Melee would be the best. But if this works out well, right? If I'm correct on my thinking here or anything, right? Because we don't know much. But if my theory crafting has worked out well, I think this character would actually be the best to fight Capella. And I am currently talking about Krush. The amount of shit that Krush has gone through, right, related to not just Capella, but also this whole ass family, right? Because I finished, as it should be obvious by now, I finished EX Novel 1. That was great. That was actually really great. I enjoyed that a whole lot. But there's something I was thinking about while going through it, right? Because the very clear thing is she is best friends with, the, king or whatever, or, the next king. I don't remember if he actually had this status yet. I kind of forgot. But, if it was his father who had the king status, or if it was him, you know what I mean, right? But she was friends with him, right? Fourier, I believe, is how you say his name. I could be wrong. And the really interesting thing I thought about here, right, is, oh damn, she was friends with somebody who was part of the Ligurica bloodline. That'd be really fucking insane if she had her memories and saw Capella. I feel like there'd be something there, right? There'd be an interaction. And I mean, she doesn't, right? But then I got further into it, and I completely forgot that, yeah, oh, right, all the members of this bloodline had died, just out of nowhere, from a mysterious disease. Hear me out on this, right? This is gonna sound like some crazy shit, this is gonna sound like some crackhead theory shit, but hear me out on this. I am genuinely wondering if something about this disease has to do with Capella, because from what I've checked online, I had to be sure, right? If I was going to make this video, I had to be absolutely sure that this disease is still unknown. And from what I've seen, yes, we have zero clue how this happened, right? So this is interesting, because there's so much shit here that I have to explain. First of all, the disease. We don't know how this occurred, and if it was because of her, that's gonna piss Krush off, right? But then, of course, she doesn't have her memories. Albeit, here's the thing, right? Look at the fight with Ram and how Ram was slowly but surely piecing things together in her brain and remembering the cut out spots a little bit, right? As she was fighting lie, right? I was almost gonna say Roy, lie. With that, right, you very clearly see that, like, connection of, you know, all these memories kind of coming back, but they're still blurry. This could happen with Krush, albeit this is different, I will say, because Ram was a secondary consequence to that type of thing, right? Because, like, Ram was the actual one who had her memories in and everything, right, and all that shit. So, similarly, Krush would be the bigger one here, right, in terms of something like that. But I will say, she might be able to piece things together. There's a chance that everybody might be able to get their memories back at some point, right? That might happen. So, this is like kind of a huge thing, because if she gets her memories back, boom, it's all back, she remembers, and now there's Capella, right? I also want to note that some people might say, well, okay, but Krush is currently in a real bad state. She has the black blood in her, and that's causing a problem. She's really sick. I'd agree if we didn't have Arc 6, because Arc 6 establishes a very interesting ability for Mr. Subaru, and that's the ability to take somebody's burden. That would straight up just take away anything from her. So she could fight. She could actually get back up and fight. Albeit, he'd feel like shit. But, I mean, look at Arc 6. He was feeling like shit the whole time and he was going through it, right? So, that could work out. She could totally fight here. And another thing I do want to note is Capella is being very heavily built up, I'd say, right? We've seen her do a little bit. She's been introduced. We've seen her do a little bit. She stated her name. And now she's a background character who, honestly, I don't even know much about Arc 7, but if I had to assume, she probably isn't even going to show up in Arc 7. She probably is not. We're probably going to see her in Arc, like, 8 or 9, right? She's very clearly a villain who is doing a whole bunch of shit in the background, right? She's responsible for a whole lot of events that have happened, but she's very clearly a villain who's in the background, just scheming shit, doing her own thing, because she rarely fucking follows the gospel. She followed it a little bit, but rarely follows it, right? Does her own thing half the time. And it's very clear that she's just being built up to this bigger point. This would be perfect if everything's correct and she's going to, like, essentially fight Krush, right? They would absolutely clash well together. It would be the perfect, like, especially if she is the reason for this whole disease, there would be the perfect clash between these two. The idea of the love would be fitting because, you know, Fourier loved Krush and wanted to marry her and everything. And look at Capella's view on love, right? This would be the perfect contrast between the two of them and clashing with Krush, right? Everything would work out perfectly here to the point that I just like putting all these ideas down, essentially, just thinking about this and putting it all down and then just thinking about it more and more, right? It absolutely drove me to the point that it's like, I need to make this video, right? Like, I cannot wait till after the review, obviously for the reasons I stated, but also it's like, just thinking about this, it's like, I could not wait, right? There's so much good shit here. If my theory is not correct, I of course put Melee back up at the top, because I think she actually would be the best, right? It'd be best that she gets her revenge against the person who ruined her life. But for Krush, this is like, it's also actually, something I should mention is also the whole thing by the end of barely anybody like kind of caring that the royal family died, but Krush being like absolutely upset with that and everything, right? I feel like that does partially add to it. It's just like everything works really well here for Krush, and I kind of hope that if this theory is correct, and I do kind of hope this theory is correct, this could be really insane. This might be better than the like Ram versus Lie fight, and that is a fight that made me want to read through the series and get to that point and get further, of course, but like get to that point and just see all this shit because it was perfectly built up. This would be even more perfectly built up, especially since from what I understand the EX Volume 1 came out during like Volume 6, right? So that's a while in the making, which albeit, I think at least with the review, I made the comparison of like, not comparison, but more so, I had the thought process of like, well, the Ren type of fight was technically built up since they were introduced. If I didn't state that, that is something I was going to state. But I would feel like this has been built up longer because, I mean, shit, Krush was introduced around, like, you know, Volume 4, Volume 5. We learned more after Volume 6 with the EX novel, but we still haven't seen Capella again yet, and we probably won't for a while, and the next volume to come out is Volume 30, which is, at this point, I think is, like, over the amount that compared to, like, the, you know, the amount of build-up I'd say Ren had with her fight, right? I'd say that's over it, or at least it will be soon, because I don't think it'll, like, be happening anytime soon, right? I don't think that fight will be happening anytime soon. So it's like, it would have even more fucking build-up, and it would be really fucking perfect. I really needed to explain that shit, because it's like, oh my god, I want to see this fight happen, right? And it's like, Krush got her shit kicked in by Capella. She didn't even get a chance. Capella absolutely ruined her. And this, like, would have been the fight, right? Like, she attacked what she thought was Capella, and then it's like, no, that was the child on the floor, that was her. Man, I really do hope this is correct, because I want to see this type of fight. Or at least read it and then see it later, of course. This would be great. I would love to see this. But that's all I wanted to say. A few things to note before this video ends, just to mention, because why not, right? Makes things easier for both the review and also just now. The tournament, the annual tournament that we do on the channel, I have a poll right here. I'm going to mention this again with the review, but I'm going to mention it now so that it's a little bit easier to just mention with the review. I can very quickly get by it, right? I still might go on it a little bit because I feel like some people might watch the review more, but the tournament poll is right there. You'll see a card for it. It's an annual tournament we do every year. I mentioned this in the, like, update kind of video, that type of thing. It's really fucking fun. A lot of people who have, like, joined in, just, you know, viewing it and everything, I've seen, like, have always enjoyed it, right? It's rare that we've ever had anybody not enjoy it. In fact, I don't think we have. At most, it might have been the one that was nearly, like, 12 hours long that people didn't enjoy. But we do one every year. It's really fun. There's a bunch of characters on there. Voting for them, of course, like, whoever's the highest vote will be put in as the last character for the big rumble, right? I will say this, right? There's a certain character in there. They are from ReZero, of course. And you might see that character and think, oh, I, like, gotta vote for that character, like, they're the ReZero, like, character and everything, right? And here's what I'll say, right? I won't stop you from doing that, because that might be a character you really enjoy, a character you might want to see the shit kicked out of, because I know some people want to see that, and I don't fully know why. But I know that there might be a whole bunch of reasonings and stuff, right? Here's what I'm going to say first. Look at every character on the list and just fully make sure, right? Fully make sure that that's the one you want to go with. I'm totally cool if people just want to go with that character, but I will say please make sure that you look at every single one and think to yourself, you know what, maybe this one, right? Like, almost just consider the other options, right? I just want to say that because I feel like there might be a possible landslide if I don't, right? I'm going to say this again with the review. There might be a possible landslide with it, and then it's like, oh, that character wins, and it's like, right? I'm totally cool if they win. I just want to say it as, like, I'm worried that it's just going to be that character and nobody else thinks about, like, oh, there's other characters on this list, right? They just see that one and they go, oh, right? So it's just like, think about everything, and if you do feel like that's the character you want, then vote for them, right? I'm totally cool with that way. I just want to mention it so there's not a complete landslide. Anyways, other thing I want to mention, the review. I've said it before, I think with the Spy Family video. I totally get it if you didn't view that. But I said it with that video. I'm going to have a video out before the review to mention what time it's going up, because it's a review of both the EX novels and Arc 7 together, and as a result, there might be some people who are viewing it for the, like, EX novels, there might be some people viewing it for Arc 7, there might be some people viewing it for both, but the more important thing is the people viewing it for the EX novels, right? I don't want somebody to hop in that video to see like shit about the EX novels, which I don't have to spoil anything about the actual series, right? I don't have to spoil anything about that in that like section. So I don't want to do that to somebody where I spoil them because we're talking about Arc 7 and then we get to the EX novel, like, or like we're past the EX novel point is what I mean, and then it's like they click on and it's Arc 7, right? Like from the premiere. So I'm going to instead just upload it. It's going to be a day and time where I upload it. I will make a video before it comes out, like a week before it comes out, to let you all know the day, the time. I'll even provide a fuck ton of time zones, right? As many as I can, right? I'll see if there's a website that just shows every fucking time zone. Hopefully it's correct, right? But I'll provide that just so you all know then, like, okay, here it is, right? It'll be out this date, this time, here's all of it in your time, boom, right? View it at that moment, right? That makes it easier, then people don't have to be spoiled. I can specifically tell them to go to the EX novel section, and then they don't have to worry about the rest, right? Or I could tell them to go to the EX novel section, then skip to the outro, and all that, right? Where I'll talk about other things, you know, once again I'll talk about the tournament. But that just makes it easier for people, right? I don't want to spoil people out of nowhere, and I do want to keep it in mind of people who like might want to see this shit, right? I like to always make sure that people can see more about the series if they're not super interested in reading, or if they want to see if there's anything intriguing with this type of stuff and not, you know, fuck them over, right? That's also why I split up the reviews. I split them up so people can read along, right? I like doing read along reviews. They're really fun. I mean, it's not like anything insane, of course, but it is just fun to imagine, like, oh, somebody could be watching this at the same time as they're reading these, like, volumes, right? So I like that a whole lot. But anyways, yeah, that's what's happening with that. You'll get the video, like, at some point in May, so you'll know ahead of time, right? Whole week ahead. And then, yeah. But that's all. Take care. Have yourselves a wonderful day. And, yeah, we'll be back with a stream highlight, or actually there might be a podcast episode soon. And, yeah, if you're here for the resale stuff, of course, we'll be back with the review. That'll be the next big thing. So, yeah. See you with that, but beforehand video.